What's going on, YouTube world and YouTube tribe? Welcome back to LilBigMan Gaming, bringing you. Know what that means, right? It's review time, which means it's review for Friday Night Smackdown. I don't know, man. We got a weird review here because I had to go back and watch it twice. Like, I watched it, then I rewatched it just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And we only had 3 matches tonight. So that means the majority of the show was just talking about... Let's start it. I'm going to start it. Then I'm going to get into all that. So, they started SmackDown off with Roman... Well, actually, they started off with a tribute to 9/11. As, you know, when you're watching this, it will be today. It's the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And since they're in New York in Madison Square Garden, you know, they wanted to pay tribute to that. Then, I'm also going to talk about that Zelina Vega stuff too. But yeah, then they started off with the Roman Reigns promo. Roman comes out, you know, and basically said, you know, as Paul Heyman, hey, you know, since WWE and all sports entertainment runs New York City, and since I run the WWE, he said that means the tribal chief and the bloodline runs Madison Square Garden and New York City. And, you know, Paul Heyman basically said, "You're right, my tribal chief. You're absolutely right." Cause I think he phrased those first 2 things as questions. I just for time reasons, I just put them both together. But I think the original way how he said it was, he asked Paul, "Does WWE and sports entertainment run New York City?" And then Paul Heyman was like, "Yes, that's 100% true." And I think he said, "What does the tribal chief run WWE?" And he said, "Yes." And he asked, "Who runs WWE?" And he said, "You do, my tribal chief." And he said, "That's right." And then he said, "That's right, since I run WWE." But you know what I said before. Then he tells Madison Square. He said he wanted Madison Square Garden and WWE. Then tells Madison Square Garden to acknowledge him, which they do, and you know that which they do. They do acknowledge him. They start chanting his name and acknowledging him, and then Brock Lesnar comes out. Brock Lesnar comes out and basically plays mind games with them, saying that alleging that Paul Heyman, I think Paul Heyman was the first person to speak to him, and Paul Heyman said, out of all the titles we could go for, why go for the Universal Championship? Why? I think he was trying to allude to let's go over to Raw and go for the WWE Championship. And he said he grabs the mic to tell Paul, why didn't you tell Roman I was going to be at SummerSlam? Or he said, why did you tell? He said, here, I got a question for you. Why didn't you tell Roman I was going to be at SummerSlam, Paul? And they all look at it, Usos, and I think at this point the Usos, like, he was about to get into Roman Reigns' face, and they did for a brief period, and then the Usos were like, as bodyguards, would get in front of the tribal chief, and that's when that whole exchange happened with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, and they basically grabbed, Roman, like, what you, they all looking at Paul like, you knew? You saying you didn't know, but you knew? And he, they look at, that's how they was giving him that look. They would give him those looks, and then Roman just snatched the title from him, and they walk, he started holding it like he usually do, like that, and then he walks out the ring, which Paul Heyman, he's panicking. He's like, oh God, what I do? So he started doing his usual Brock Lesnar shtick, and Brock Lesnar like, whoo, that feels good, just like old times. But then he grabs Paul and tells Paul that before Roman Reigns fire you, accept my challenge. And Paul Heyman like, what challenge? He said, my challenge for the WWE Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. And he said, you got 5 seconds, Paul. and then he started counting down. And when he got like to 2, he just picked Paul up like he was getting ready to F5 him. But Roman Reigns would get in the ring and Superman punched Brock Lesnar, and it made Brock Lesnar inadvertently do a Samoan drop on Paul Heyman, and then I think he would give like another Superman punch to Brock. No, he tried to, but then Brock Lesnar almost put him. He caught it and like caught him in mid-air, put them up on his shoulder like he was getting ready to F5 Roman Reigns. But then that's what the Usos was getting involved and super kick him. And then Brock Lesnar proceeded to take what you would call the Usos and both Usos to Suplex City. Then we would get into our first match of the night, which was a 10-man tag match with surprise celebrity guest Trae Young. The 10-man tag was between Big E, King Nakamura, Rick Boogs, and Ray and Dominic Mysterio on one team, and then on the other team you had Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, who was the one who brought out Trae Young. I think he like interrupted King Nakamura's entrance music and a little interest thing to introduce and to say he loved New York, and then be like a Dick Hill and bring out Trae Young. But it was Sami Zayn, Apollo Crews, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode, and I think that was it, right? Yeah, that Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode. No, there was one more because it was a 10-man tag. That was a 5. That's dang, I can't remember who was the other person. Jesus Christ, who was that other person that was in that 10-man tag? It wasn't Commander Aziz, because Commander Aziz was he stayed on the outside, but it was I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to remember. I rewatched it twice and now I can't remember who was part of that, who was on. It was Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode. Who the heck was the other? You might hear it in a minute. You're going to hear just a little bit of the show. Cause I got to go back and see who was on that tag match. Who was in that tag match? Oh, yeah. It was Otis. Otis was the other one. I forgot Chad Gable. So yeah, it was Otis. Otis was the 5th man on Apollo Crews, and I'm not about to recount it because I just did it like so many times. But it was Otis. So yeah, that match was a good match. You know, it was actually I actually enjoyed it. It was because we rarely see 10-man tags now, and it was a refresher. You know, even though we seen all these people in the match against each other, it was a refresher to see a 10-man tag match. So I forgave the fact that everybody involved was already had matches against each other, but it was a nice refresher. I actually enjoyed Trae Young being out there too, because he actually lived up to the fact that people in New York did not like Trae Young, and you know why. If you're a fan of basketball, you know why nobody likes Trae Young in New York. But Trae Young would get himself sent to the back after getting involved. I think he tried to like when Rey Mysterio was like laying on the ropes, and he would grab Rey Mysterio's head and like he was choking on with the ropes, but he would get caught by the referee, which should have made the match a DQ, but apparently it wasn't DQ. They just sent Trae Young to the back, and but yeah, they would end up Big E, and they would end up getting the win. So it was an okay match. Then we moved to one of the big chunks in the night promos was Becky and Bianca and Becky contract sign. Now I got like a whole list of things written down on this paper about what they were saying. I'm gonna just go with the highlights of it because I'm not gonna go through all that. But I think I written down like half of their promo. But Bianca, I think was the first one out. Yeah, and she comes out and says that she came a long way since the last time she was in New York in Madison Square Garden. I think she said the last time she was there when she won the ESPY and was still women's champion. She talks about SummerSlam and why Becky brings up the 26 seconds, saying that Becky only brings it up because she knows they had like a real match, like an actual full length match. Becky, the outcome would be very different, and that she used to have respect for her because as the man, as Becky Lynch, but now she don't have respect for her because she basically ducking and dodging matches and stuff. And she said that she lost some respect for Becky, but she said Becky could get some of that respect back as she reclaims her championship and shines the paper. This will bring out Becky Lynch. I'm trying to get to my notes where Becky. She comes out and says that she knew she told Bianca, you want to know when I knew I had you? She said it was when my music came on at SummerSlam and I saw your reaction. Your reaction was that you were starstruck. You was at all the center ring with Big Bex, and she said that's okay. That's okay if you want to be a fan. It's okay you want to be a fan and buy a ticket to sit in the front row, because she said either you want to be a fan or you want to be the man. And she basically said that was the reason why she got beat, because she was at that moment she was acting more like a fan than the man. And then she started saying she said, what if I don't sign this contract? And they, Sonya and Adam asked her, like, what do you mean, what if you don't sign it? Sign the contract. And she said, no, what if I don't sign it? Because I told you I was going to give her the rematch, and it could have been tonight. It could have been next week. But she said more importantly, it could have been tonight. It could have been right here in front of this Madison Square Garden crowd that would have gave her the rematch. But yet now we'll never know, because you're making us wait to Extreme Rules. But then she's still thinking not to sign the contract. But then Bianca tells her to sign the contract, because you ain't going to be ducking and dodging this time, suck it, sign the contract. And she started a chant, which angers Becky, because everybody chanting and sign the contract, and Becky basically rips into the crowd for chanting and sign the contract, because she says she came back and saved everybody's asses and saved SummerSlam from being a total disaster. And she at last minute, she might add, she also left her. She mentioned how she left her baby girl at home because the people kept chanting, "We want Becky, and this is how you treat her." And then she said, well, "You know what? Fine. If you can't beat them, join them." And she said, "I will beat them at SummerSlam." And she signs the contract. I think she also mentioned how Bianca was like a flash in the pan or some stuff like that too. I think when she was talking about the chat, she's like, "You chat for this flash in the pan person over me." That's what she started talking about, her kids and all that type of stuff. Her kid, I should say. I said kids like she had more than one. But then I think she tried to throw the contract at Bianca, but Bianca called it, and showing that she had good reflex type of thing. And that would be the end of that promo. I think they played her music, and Bianca and Becky was like, "No, I'm the champ. Play my music." We would get to the second match of the night, which is the one of the last matches of the night, which is Edge versus Seth Rollins. This is why I had to rewatch it, because I'm like, there was only 3 matches. I could have sworn there was more. I thought when I first watched it was more than 3, but then I'm like, it really was 3. But yeah, this was a good match. This is one of the reasons why it was only 3 matches, because this would take the rest of the time on SmackDown, which only left the final match and the promo just a little bit rushed. But the Edge versus Seth Rollins match was good. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it because we saw Seth Rollins attempt to do some edge moves. He did deliver the glam slam back Phoenix taunting Edge by hitting him with his own wife's moves. I think he did it twice to Edge. He also started targeting Edge's knee for some good storytelling purposes. But yeah, the Edge will come back. They try to. I think Seth Rollins tried to hit the pedigree a couple of times on Edge, and then Edge will reverse it and hit the pedigree. Actually, do hit the pedigree on Seth Rollins. But Seth Rollins, with the referee was a looking. He would low blow Edge, and then he would super kick Edge like twice. I think the first time he did it, then Edge got back up. It was like he was being defiant. He said, "Why won't you die?" And then he super kicked him again, and then hit a stomp on him to win the match. They played up the angle where Edge was hurt. Where Edge was basically was hurt and had to be taken out in an ambulance. I think there was also earlier, it was a funny backstage moment with Paul Heyman when he confirmed too. Cause I bring this up because it leads into the last match. It was a backstage moment when he was on the phone. He was talking about how people are accusing him of of basically knowing that Brock Lesnar was going to be at SummerSlam. And he said, you know what, I didn't, he was saying, basically telling the phone he didn't know, but then he would get interrupted by Sansi and Tegan Knox, which I don't know why they're not being given a women's tag team match. They beat the women's tag team champions 3 times now. They should be given a tag team match, but I don't know what's going on there. But they at least showed up on the show. Where I can't say for some people, but yeah, they came from the tank. They said, "Hey, Paul, you want to ride?" And Paul just sitting there looking at him like, "What?" And he just they well, maybe next time then, and then they just drive off doing their little thing. Then he bumps into Kayla, and she's like, "Hi, Paul." She just becoming his stalker. She knows messing with him. So I actually like that backstage segment because she was a creepy ass stalker. She's like, "Hi, Paul." He's like, "God, when you just keep poke until you get what you want, huh?" And then he announced that Roman Reigns, after the match with the Usos versus the Street Profits, he was gonna come out and tell the world if he accepts the challenge. And then he bumps into Big E, who taunts with the Money in the Bank briefcase. We would get and then that's what we get. We would get the main event match with the Usos versus the Street Profits, and this was a good match. This was a very good match. I actually, for the fact that it was the main event, it was still a good match. I still enjoyed. This was the first time in a long time I enjoyed watching the Street Profits, and this was a good match. I even had a moment where Montez Ford lost his shoe, and he just instead of trying to roll out into the ring, throw it out in the ring, get tagged out, and try to put his shoe back on, he basically threw the shoe into the crowd, just like, "Here, why don't y'all keep that as momentum that you got Montez Ford's Air Force One." So he continued the match basically with one shoe, and the crowd even chanted, "One shoe, one shoe." Because it was cool that he was still doing his thing in one shoe. And yeah, the match was good up until, I hate that they did it, but up until it looked like the Street Profits had the match won and was getting ready to beat the Usos. You saw Roman Reigns, because when the Usos hit they usual match ending finishers, the Street Profits kicked out, and Roman was like, "What? Huh?" He was looking like, "What? Oh no. This match was supposed to be over." And then the Street Profits looked like they was about to win, but then Roman would get in the ring, put Montez Ford in the guillotine, causing a DQ. So your winners is the Street Profits via DQ. And then once they dealt with them, Roman said, "I don't duck, the tribal chief doesn't duck from no man," and that once he get done with Finn Balor, he's gonna smash and stack Brock Lesnar. And then the lights would go out and Demon Finn Balor would make his appearance and comes to the ring staring down both the Usos and Roman Reigns to end the show. And that's it. That's really it. That's the end. That was the show right there. I don't know how to feel about it. Before I give you this, I just want to touch on this a brief moment. One of the matches it really was supposed to be for at least 4 matches. One of the matches was supposed to be Zelina Vega and Carmella tag teaming. I think they were supposed to they were tag teaming together against. It was supposed to be against Liv Morgan and Toni Storm. That was supposed to be one of the matches. And if you go to Twitter, you will see that Zelina Vega and I think Liv Morgan just tweeted some ... like she was just like saying, I don't know what to say about it now. And Zelina, and then Zelina Vega, she tweeted, I guess not, I guess no, oh no, she said never mind. I think she tweeted never mind then. And saw her in the ring gear she was supposed to be wearing. She took actual pictures of what she was getting ready to wear, and I think saw her looking at the screen, and I think it was a match that was taking place in the place of the match, in the place of their match, and she realized that match has been canceled, and the reports is that they canceled the match because they ran out of time for it. They ain't had no more time to put on the Toni Storm in their match. And I'm guessing they probably could, but it would have been so rushed that it wouldn't have been a good match to show anyway. So, with that being said, I'm gonna give this episode. I'm gonna get as good as it was. This wasn't about everything was enjoyable. And that's only because everything they put it was something enjoyable. It was nothing bad because it was a short show. It was like they ran out so much time with the promo, so that's why I'm giving it 6 big ups. It was an okay show because everything was good. I had nothing wrong with everything I just read to you. I had nothing wrong. Find nothing wrong with it. I just find the only thing I hate that they cut. They told some superstar that needs screen time that they wasn't gonna get no screen time because they took too much time with these promos. And I always say I hate when they do these lengthy promos because it should be more wrestling than talking. And before I go, I was having a debate. We was having a little discussion. I wouldn't even call it a debate with one of my friends. You see me play Call of Duty with him, Strap. And his name is Strapped Up, and he was saying how he enjoyed wrestling of the older days when it was more about wrestling than talking. And he was saying that's what made him stop watching the WWE and wrestling as a whole, because he said they did too much of the talking and promos more than they was doing wrestling. He said he couldn't watch it no more. And it calls back to this. I understand, because this episode could have been a 10. I could have said it was a 10 because they started off good and ended it good. It could have been a perfect 10, but I don't know. They just didn't want to put on matches. They wanted to do a lot of talking. So yeah, that's what I thought. And if you thought the same, let me know in the comments down below. Because if you enjoyed this video, hit this button right there in the upper right corner for all of my wrestling review videos. And if you enjoyed the video so much you want to support the channel, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification button so you get notified when I drop videos. Also, hit any one of these videos for more of my amazing content. But don't go nowhere. I got another review video for you and some gameplay videos. I'm doing them backwards this time. I'm giving you the reviews first, then gameplay. Peace out.